Yo, that's crazy. That episode between Lucci and Zoro. For me, that was an epic fight scene for that episode. It was my favorite scene, really, for that episode. And when I was watching that, I was studying that action shot, right? It reminded me of the three things that I saw in those shots that I really had to get better when I was a young artist. Number one, I had to really understand how to frame my action, right? We're talking about composing your shots, right? We're talking about framing, we're talking about composition, right? All those things, right? Number two, I had to really learn how to draw on the Z-axis for foreshortening, right? You got your X, you got your Y, and you got your Z-axis when you're drawing in perspective, right? And I really had to get better in that because I was trash, okay? I'm gonna tell you. And number three, I had to make sure that I also choose my shots wisely, right? Meaning, right? Am I choosing a medium shot? Am I choosing a POV close-up shot, established shot, wide shot, long shot, medium shot, extreme shot? Doesn't really matter. What are the best shots in order to carry the action scene along, right? For each scene, for each character or characters that are in the scene, doesn't really matter, all right? So let me show you over here what I'm talking about. All right, so this is a surprise attack from Lucci, right? Coming up against Z, right? Zoro. Because Lucci is large in this particular scene, right? It gives me the feeling, the emotion of terror, right? Why do I have that emotion of terror? This dude is huge, right? And he's above, right? We got that camera low angle looking, right? And he is huge over Zoro, right? To me, it screams terror alert, right? This dude is in this primal fury. Look at his eyes, right? Look at those eyes, right? Red, glowing. Dude is in the primal fury mode, right? About to destroy. And again, the terror alert for me, it makes me feel nauseated in the pit of my stomach. Why do I feel nauseated? Because the way these elements are coming together in this scene is because I'm worried about this dude right here, right? Lucci's, right? Muscles are tensed, right? Muscles are tensed here, right? Here, right? His torso is twisted, right? His torso is twisted, it's torqued, right? Because he's got that crazy exaggerated torque. Let me show you a little different here. He's got that crazy torque, right? And I love how they drew that, right? Shoulders, right? This is stretched. This is torqued heavily, right? Arms coming here, something like that, right? Coming forward towards us. Boom, boom. But here, let's get rid of this hand. I got to slow down. I'm going so fast. Thighs coming forward. Right? But here, woo, I love that right there. Okay? Right there is pure love for me, right? Torso is torqued, right? Beautifully drawn in this space, right? And because his torso is torqued, right, it signals that the slash from this man, right? It signals the slash from this guy right here. It signals that this man is about to go into what I call the godlike speed of destroying this man, of destroying this dude called Zoro. All right. But beautifully, as far as, again, framing the action, right? Let's look at it. Framing the action. Okay? Rule of thirds, right? We have a large, and a very, very small, right? And look at that, okay? Rule of thirds really help to position the characters and position objects when you have in this scene, right? Whatever scene that you're drawing in an action scene, right? Okay. The other elements and the things that I see that I like, okay, is the trees. Let's look at the background, right? The trees are tilted, right? There are elements that are going in a particular direction, right? Look at these leaves, right? Look at these leaves. They're going in a particular direction, okay? Everything, and even here's the horizon line, right? Going in this direction, okay? And even from this angle, the way that the perspective, we're looking this way, okay? Everything is pointing towards this area right here, okay? And that's very important. When you're drawing action scenes and you have in the background or whatever in the scene, you have diagonal lines and things like that. Diagonal lines really emphasizes movement and it emphasizes tension. And also what I like about this, because all the trees, okay, the trees here, we do it this way. And all of those details here, and then you have a tree back here. To me, I'm gonna slow the opacity a little bit. For me, it opens up this scene. Okay, did you see that? It opens up the scene, at least for me, right? It's beautifully placed, tilted. The camera's tilted as well. Okay, this low angle shot. You got your diagonal lines that points to the action, the center, the climax. I think for me, why I chose to start with this scene. This is the climax of the scene, right? And if you look closely, you don't see any trees or any branches here, right? You only see it 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So look at the framing. Boom. That's what I'm talking about, right? Right there, okay? All those, trees and all those bushes and all that stuff that's receded in the background, right? Or just pushed in the background, really frames the shot. This is what I'm talking about. This is why these guys are good. This is why when you're studying, when we're doing things like this, right? When I'm doing a concept piece or a cover, or when I'm getting into a storyboard, this is the things that I have to constantly think about, obviously through practice, obviously through repetition. And these guys who were doing these guys and gals who were on this scene did an excellent job. I mean, there's so much information here to study, so much information here to learn, and to appreciate. When you're pulling these elements together, okay? When you have all these elements together, when it's talking about framing, when I'm talking about framing the actions, these elements, right, when thought throughly with practice, can create an impressive action for any scene, okay? For any scene. Boom. Okay? This is what I've seen. And obviously, right, there's more things that can go on in order to make an action scene. You can talk about coloring, talk about lighting, and obviously all those things incorporate with story. But these are the elements that I've seen as far as, number one, framing your action shots, right? You gotta be good in order to do that. All right, so number 2, foreshortening secret. Stretch the frame, point the viewer. So what do I mean by that, right? First, I had to get an understanding foreshortening. I always saw foreshortening in a lot of these shots, right? Look at the next scene, right? From where we were just talking about with number 1, right? We getting a POV shot, a close-up POV shot, really from Lucci looking down at Zoro, right? And we obviously see that Zoro's head is massive, okay? And then also you have his shoulders, and then you have his arms, and then you have his little legs, and then you have his feet, okay? And really for foreshortening, just a fancy way of drawing something that looks like it's coming right at you, right? And the way that these Japanese artists, the way that these artists do this, right? They do it so successfully, just like here in this fight scene that we're examining. It really makes it look like that when the viewer is punching and fighting and kicking and thrusting its body towards the camera, it's almost like you're getting punched in the gut, right? And when you talk about stretching the frame, right? Sometimes, just like in this scene here, the next POV shot, we have Lucci with his arm out, right? But it's stretched past the frame, right? And it gives the what you would say, the enhancing spatial depth, and also gives the feeling of speed, like his arm is, whoo, right? And I love this stuff, man. And so I had to really understanding how to draw foreshortening. So the foreshortening really, once again, is just a fancy way of something coming towards you, right? And in perspective, you have the X, Y, and Z, right? And so in perspective, you know, the foreshortening is always on the Z axis, normally, always on the Z axis, right? The Z axis is coming towards you, right? So you have your X, you have your Y, and you have your Z, okay? And this is what's coming towards us, all right? Coming towards the camera, right? Just like right here, boom, coming towards the camera, right? Doesn't matter. This is foreshortening. My arm is foreshortening. My arm seems to be compressed, right? And again, when it's on the Z axis, right? Matter of fact, so we see this clearly with the artist, what they did with a close-up shot of Lucci with his arm stretching past the frame. Boom, 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 right? Foreshortening, for me, is the key to creating something that's dynamic. And it's what I call the ill sauce. You know, when you get in those dragon rolls and whatever, when you go into a sushi bar, right? And you get all your, for me, I get my pickled ginger, right? Man, I want some sushi right now. You get some pickled ginger, right? You get that guac, you get that wasabi, it's on the side, and I always get like some type of soy sauce on there. But once I get all my dragon rolls and I get all that stuff, I cannot have anything else. I cannot start to devour the sushi without the ill sauce. I need that drip. Foreshortening is the ill sauce. It's the drip. It's the key. It's the thing that causes, that make it look like you're getting punched in the gut as the viewer, like it's coming towards us. Ill sauce is key. You gotta have the ill sauce. All right, so here's an example of a character that I drew some while ago. And again, emphasizing why foreshortening is the ill sauce drip is why it's one of the things that I love doing. All right, so this is a character that I drew of this poster for this, not necessarily for the desktop, but it is my desktop because I love it. And this is the character called Elira. All right, and so as you can see, as you're seeing my mouse, look how I'm drawing, look how I drew, right? The foreshortening of the thing that's coming more closer to the camera, right? Her hands, right? And so she's conjuring up some evil being that's coming out some type of crazy dark void. Sometimes a lot of the low angle shots enhance the tension, enhance the thing that's going on in the scene. And it really makes whatever the characters you got going on prominent. So even though, right, and everything from the character of this crazy, you know, evil magic demon thing, his head is bigger than her head, right? He's the focus because he's the thing that's coming out of the void. But as we get even closer to examine what I'm talking about, look how I've done this. Look how I stacked and overlapped. The hand overlaps the forearm. The forearm a little bit overlaps the elbow. And part of the elbow that's on the side of the arm of the biceps is overlapping other elements. It overlaps part of her torso, right? Even here, okay? We're looking at the arm, the hand over here. You can clearly see that, right? Her mid side, right? Her midsection, right? Her torso, her breast is overlapping her collarbone, right? You can't see that, right? And this is what I'm talking about, right? Part of her design of these horns, armor that she has on her shoulders, right? It's overlapping the next thing, right? The body, her entire body overlaps the shadow and overlaps the background. And this is what I'm talking about for shortening. This, I think, you'd let me know, I think this is intense, right? I think this is bad, right? This is the ill sauce, right? I added the ill sauce on here, the foreshortening, to really make it dramatic. And that's what I'm talking about. All right, so number 3, the last thing that I also had to learn too, right? One of the key things is choosing the right camera angles, right? According to the scene, right? As you're progressing and as you're telling the story. All right, so this is a wide shot, right? This is the first scene that we were just talking about, right? This is the climax. And so this is important to set the tone, to get the viewers, myself, yourself, to get an understanding of clearly seeing where everything is, right? We can see the background. We can clearly see the characters from head to toes. We can clearly see the backgrounds, right? We can clearly see the trees and the bushes, right? We've already talked about how they were aligned in order to create this space right here to open up the scene so we can clearly see it, right? We clearly see Zoro from head to toe. We clearly see Lucci from head to toe, right? Everything is clear. It's the establishing, it's the wide shot. Great shot to start up with. It's not so close and I hate when things are starting that way, when you got headshot and they're just close-ups and you just can't see where they are, what's going on and how they're moving. So clearly we see that. Then we see the next scene, the next shot, POV from Lucci looking at Zoro. And we see, again, the calm, the cool, collected Zoro, right? Look at his expression. He's ready. He's already in his fighting position, right? He's ready to counter the surprise attack from Lucci. Lucci thought that he had him. But this dude, the way that his face, he's like, if I was Lucci, I was like, oh, snap. I thought I had this dude. All right? And so this is a close-up shot, a POV close-up shot of Lucci. Then we see the next close-up shot. I think it is a close-up shot. Another POV where we're looking at where it's a POV shot from Zoro that he's looking at, finally recognizing Lucci, right? Lucci's trying to come up from behind him in a surprise attack, right? And we're looking at this crazy, grin, right? And I like this because, like I've said before, it shows, again, his stretched arm stretching past the frame, right? It's not like in Zoro's shot. And let me draw this right quick, or real quick. It's not like with Lucci, right? If they had the shot like this with him, and you'll see overlap of his shoulders, right? Maybe part of his neck. You're not seeing this. And I think this could work too, right? Again, this is what we're talking about in the third one, right? Choosing the right camera angles in order to tell the story. Sometimes, like, this is a cool angle if they were to draw from here, but they pulled back a little bit so we can get the sense, I think the sense of the massiveness of his body, right? Look at those muscles. And then he's got his arm towards past the stretch of the frame. Like, I'm already so close enough. I'm already in arm's length. That's how I'm reading emotionally. That's how I'm reading the scene. And I think this is a great scene. And the next one, into that, the clash, pop, 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 begins, okay? Wide shot, clearly seeing each character in its environment, clearly seeing it, okay? And they're going toe to toe, okay? Lucci think that he can overpower. He think he has more speed. He think he has whatever against calm, cool, and collected Zoro. But as we see in this establishing wide shot, right? And I pulled some from the scene. You can see that ain't really the case. But I love this because we get to see the martial arts between them. We get to clearly see how they're jumping and moving. Look at how Zoro is continuing to counter Lucci's fights and countering his kicks, countering all the takedowns that Lucci is trying to get to him, all right? And so when they're doing this scene, it stays on this scene for a few seconds of this wide shot. And then from there, once Zoro continues to counter and Lucci realizes he ain't got the upper hand. He's blocking everything I got. Then we get a massive extreme close-up shot that I just love. And I've only picked up one because it's my favorite part of the scene. Look at this. Crazy massiveness, right? There's foreshortening in there. They blurred out, from here to here, right? In order to create that depth, right? Again, that foreshortening, that's one of the other ways when you're clearly drawing something. Here, you can also have something that's blurred, just how you're seeing in my camera, my hand is blur according to the camera lens that I have on here, that adds depth. And you can manipulate that, right? They clearly do that. This is what you can do in order to add that oomph, right? That drip, that ill sauce that I was talking about, a foreshortening. But with that being said, he's pissed. He's pissed because he ain't got the upper hand. This dude is blocking everything. He can't touch him. And so what better way to show his fury, to get up and close at this dude? Look at that. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what you do right there. All right, and so those are the 3 things that I was trash and I'm better at now, right? Number 1, again, framing the action, learning how to draw 3D shapes in the frame, in the scene, right? Understanding my X and Y, Z's, my perspective, but the composition of everything coming together according to the scene to draw the emotion that we hope to draw when we're doing this stuff. But everything is very clear, right? According to its scene. We understand what's going on. We clearly see all the shapes. We clearly see all the characters. We understand if they're in the scene, if it's a wide shot or if it's a close POV shot, just like how we were looking at, right? We clearly see what's in focus, right? Zoro's head was massive in the size, in the frame, because his expression is the most important thing in the shot, right? And then number 2, foreshortening, that ill sauce drip that I talked about, right? Gotta have, it's key, right? Understanding how to draw elements, shapes. If we're talking about anatomical design, the anatomical shapes, right? How each element, right? The deltoids, right? The biceps, right? Here, the forearm, here, the hand. And the hand overlaps the forearm overlaps the biceps, and the biceps overlap the deltoids, right? They're stacked, and it gives that compression, right? And it adds tension, and it's stretching past the frame. And again, like I said, I always like to have that feeling, especially like how Lucci's arm is stretched, where it's like he's punching towards us, like we're always getting hit in the gut, right? I love that feeling. Again, the ill sauce. And lastly, number 3, when we're choosing the right type of camera angles, right? We examine the POV shots, the close-up POV shots that were needed. We examine the wide, long shots, the establishing shots, to clearly see the background, to clearly see both characters, clashing against each other, right? And we're clearly seeing, again, using also the close-ups at the end with Lucci, the scenes that we were just examining, how it's important to see his reaction. And we want to be close, right? We want to be close to his reaction because he's pissed, he's mad, he hasn't gotten the upper hand of Zoro. That's a part of choosing the right things in order to tell the story the way that you want to tell the story. You practice this. This is the things that I practice, and I continue to practice to the day I die, right? You're never you're never going to be perfect at it, right? And that's us as humans, right? That's how we were created. So I'm always practicing. That's what these artists are doing too. And that's why they're good, right? That's what we do, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. So those are the 3 things that I learned to up my game in order not to be trash. So creating dynamic stuff is my favorite thing to do. This is why this channel is all going to be about examining and showing you the things that I've learned, admiring great artists just like here, why they're doing what they're doing. And hey, that's all we're going to be talking about, man. Dynamic figures and action poses. See you next time.